So today we're going to do my foundation concealer kind of collection. I'm going to show you guys what I have so far. I'm going to do a little bit of decluttering and show you my favorites as well. So this is an easy way for you guys to take a little sneak peek into my collection, but it's also so nice being a tiny bit nosy and looking into someone else's clutter and mess. So let's just jump in and get started. Okay, so here is my drawer full of foundations and concealers. As you can see, I use the Alex drawers here. So I use 2 sets of 10 drawers in each, and they're all full of makeup. As I have so much makeup, but this is a great way for me to actually declutter, which is wonderful. So let's just jump in and get started. The first thing I see here are actually the Wet n Wild foundations. As you can see in the video, they're really weird shades. So I'm actually this shade, the little bit more pinky and dark shade. This one's porcelain. So actually I'm gonna keep both just because I recently got them, and I can always use this lighter shade mixing in with dark foundations that are too dark for me. Plus they were like a solid $5, definitely worth keeping because I do really like them. Keep in mind these foundations are so affordable, so I'm not sure about the ingredients that are in them because they do really smell like wet paint, unfortunately. The next one that I see here is the Makeup Forever HD foundation. I actually don't like this foundation at all. It is too dark for me. It does not stay on my skin, even though I'm a normal skin type. So I'm definitely going to pass this one on, but I really don't like this foundation. And before it expires, I'm going to pass it on to someone who may enjoy it a little bit more. The next one that I see is my Chanel Aqua Lumiere. I really like this foundation. A little bit of it does go a long way, but I am running pretty low on it. I do want to pick up the actual sponge version of it as well because I heard it's really great coverage. So I love this foundation and it's not going anywhere. The next one I see is another Makeup Forever product. This one is the stick formula. I really dislike this foundation. This one is in 117 as well. I found that it did not stay on my skin. There was so much hype about it, so it's one of those things where YouTube made me do it because I actually don't really like this foundation at all, and there's quite a bit left. So I'll pass this one on as well with the other Makeup Forever foundation. The next one that I see is the Double Wear foundation. The pump that you see with this foundation is actually a Clinique pump that I got from a Clinique counter and put on the Double Wear bottle. So if you're looking for a good pump option, that's always something to do. This foundation is actually way too dark for me, and I don't like a full coverage foundation, and I will pass this guy on because it is a good foundation in Ivory Nude, and I have about 75% of it left, but I don't reach for it ever. So I will be passing this along. So I have all of these L'Oreal Infallible foundations. I recommend this foundation to absolutely everyone with a little squeeze of that Pro-Glow in there as well. It's the perfect all-day foundation. I love these. I have them in the majority of the light shades for when I'm tanned, when I'm doing someone else's makeup, when I'm super fair. I love this foundation and it's not going anywhere. So I have about 5 bottles of it, I think, and I'm just gonna keep that right here. Going on the topic of infallible foundation, I have the Pro-Glows as well. Like I mentioned, by throwing in a little bit of the Pro-Glow in with the Pro Matte, it is such a good foundation. Definitely the mixture together is amazing, but these aren't really too affordable. They are a drugstore foundation, but I think they're like $22, $23 here in Canada. I love them, but I definitely should not have bought 2. I have this foundation here. This one is the Maybelline Matte and Poreless Fit Me collection. I didn't actually like this foundation at all. So I am in one of the lighter shades, 110, but I think I may pass it on to my friend because I'm meeting with her this week and I think she'll appreciate it more than I will. So I'm going to pass this guy on as well because I didn't love it. The next drugstore foundation I see is the Maybelline Better Skin Foundation. I do really like this foundation. I find that it's a perfect consistency. So it's not too thin, it's not too thick, but it gives like your normal coverage. It gives like a satin finish, which is something that I really like when I'm not going for those really matte days. This is a really affordable foundation. It is I think it may be getting discontinued because it's on clear out everywhere, and I'll probably pick up another bottle of it as well. I have this L'Oreal Lumi Cushion Foundation. I remember when this was all the rage, these cushion foundations, especially this L'Oreal one, so I ran out and picked it up. It is super dried out right now. I don't think I could even get a full application out of the foundation, so I'm going to toss this guy, but I probably wouldn't repurchase it as I only got a couple uses out of it because it doesn't have too much product in it. And it was still in that L'Oreal price point of like $25, $23. So a little bit too high for a drugstore product for me, but I wouldn't repurchase this. The next product I see is the Organic Wear Physicians Formula BB Cream. I love this product because it is actually all natural. It smells great, kind of a little bit like wheat, which I don't mind, but it also is not a super affordable price point for drugstore products. I believe it's $20. The color ranges, there's only 2, so always not the best colors, but I do really like it. It does work for me. I really have to blend it out. It's a thicker consistency, but gives about a medium coverage, which I can really appreciate from the drugstore. One of the last foundation products I have here is the Roche Posay Tinted Sunscreen in 50. I recently picked this up. I talked about it on my Instagram, how I just love it. It has a little bit of a gritty texture, but once you have it on and you blend it out, it is so nice. It is a darker shade, so there's only one shade of the tinted. There's not like light, medium, and dark. There's only one shade, which is kind of, I would say, like light to medium. So I really do have to blend it out along my neck if I'm not tanned at all, but it is a wonderful product. Anything from La Roche-Posay is always a win in my books, especially their sunscreens. Now moving on to concealers, I'm going to pop right in and show you which ones I'm going to keep and which ones I'm definitely going to get rid of. So this guy here is my Chanel concealer. I purchased it the same time as when I purchased the Vitallumiere Aqua foundation. I really do like this concealer. I would say that it's one of those things that's not brighter than my foundation though. When I choose a concealer, I always want it to be like 1 or 2 shades brighter than my foundation. And this guy is actually the same color as my foundation. So I'm not sure if I'd repurchase this, but I definitely repurchased the foundation, but I'm gonna keep it and use it up. So I have these 2 Naked Skin concealers. As you can tell, they're getting pretty empty, but I would definitely repurchase these guys. I'm going to keep them in my collection and just finish using them up. I have the darker one for when I'm more tanned and then the lighter one for when I'm my fair self. I love them, and truth be told, I may like them even more than I like Tarte Shape-tape concealer. I have that here in the collection, but I do like these guys a little bit more. Another concealer is the Maybelline Better Skin Concealer. This one's quite new, not too old in my collection. I don't think I've given it a fair shot. I did use it in my recent Get Ready With Me that was all drugstore products. I will link it down below for you, but I do really like it for being a drugstore concealer. I'm not a huge fan of quite a few of them from the drugstore, as we will see moving on, but this one I'm going to keep and give a little bit more of a shot to it because I did really like it when I tried it. I have a couple Age Rewind concealers here. These are a little bit too old for my liking. I don't reach for them anymore because they have this the sponge at the top, and I think the sponge is a little bit gross. And I didn't think of that when I was opening the product and smearing it all over my skin. But now that it's gotten a little bit older, I don't think I'm gonna try this on my skin or even test it because I don't want any breakouts, but it's also not worth it for a $5, $10 concealer. I can remember that I really liked the brightening one, but I don't think I like the dark eraser one, which is the white tube, just because it didn't give that much coverage. So I would probably repurchase the brightening one, but not the white tube. The next concealer that I have here is the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer. This is always a cult favorite. I think I'm in N15. I'm gonna finish this up, but it's one of those things that I'm not sure I'll be running back to MAC to pick it up, but I will finish it. I will put it in my back to MAC collection, and then I'll take it back and get a free lipstick. I have this concealer here. I'm not even sure why I purchased this. It is a Drove Fresh concealer, so if you're in Canada, you would know what this means. It's like our local Canadian brand of makeup, and I don't actually like it. It's an illuminating concealer, but it really doesn't illuminate. I find it actually doesn't really cover either, so I'm gonna pass this on, see if someone else wants to try it, if they love it, if they want to give it a shot, but for me, it didn't do anything. The next one I have here is the Maybelline Master Conceal. I don't think I've given this one a fair shot either because I am a high-end concealer junkie. I don't necessarily gravitate towards my drugstore concealers, but I'm going to keep this one on the team so I can use it when I have my Get Ready With Me's and give it another more shot. I think that this one's better for blemishes and not so good for under the eyes because it is quite thick and heavy, but I'm gonna give it a shot and I'll let you guys know. Again, this is a Canadian brand concealer. This is the Marcelle Flawless Skin Concealer. I'm gonna pass it on. I don't think I've used it, but I don't think I'm gonna open it up so that I can pass it on to someone who may get a better use out of it, and I will see what they think. Next, I have the Tarte Shape-tape Concealer. It is a great concealer, do not get me wrong, but this one is quite light. I did get a shade that was a little bit too light for me, so I do always have to add a concealer with it to make sure that I don't look ghostly, but I am in the market of getting a little bit darker shade just so I can really give it a try tried and true test, but I do really like it. I would say that people who say that you don't have to put a powder on top of it may be mistaken, because I always set my under eyes with a powder, including this guy, just because I don't want it to crease, and it does crease without a powder. Next, I have a NYX concealer. This is the brightening concealer. I just used this one today. I really enjoy it. A little bit of it goes a long way. It's nice and smooth and creamy. Drugstore prices are always a plus in my book, so I believe it was like $10. But if you suffer with dark eyes, this is always a good option for you, because it will really help brighten. I would use this in conjunction with a concealer, not in lieu of a concealer, but a little dab of each under your eyes. So I'm going to keep it just because I love experimenting with it. The next one I have here is actually a Makeup Forever concealer. Unfortunately, Makeup Forever is not good in my books today. I don't like this concealer at all. It is going to go in someone else's pile. I found that it was too creamy. I don't even know if that's a thing, but I found it was too creamy, too wet, and I could never get it to stop creasing no matter what I set it with. So I'm going to pass this on to someone who may appreciate it a little bit more than me. Next concealer I have is the Benefit Boiing concealer. This one is going to get passed on as well, because I normally would use this if I had blemishes or had like dark circles or dark spots to cover, but I don't suffer with any of that, luckily. So it is a little bit too heavy of a concealer for me to use myself, so I'm going to pass it on because it is the lightest shade, and I have quite a few fair people in my life. One of the last concealers I have here is a Lise Waiter concealer, so again a Canadian brand, but you can purchase in the States if that's where you're located. It is a concealer that is a color wheel, so it is great to have on hand because it has the green, it has the purple, it has the orange. It really helps with that discoloration that you may have on your skin, and it also has those neutral tones in there as well to use as a concealer. I'm going to keep this on even though I don't reach for it as much as I possibly could, but I do really like the concept behind it, so maybe I'll do a color correction video just to show you how it works and why I love it so much. The last product I see in here is the Body Shop Lightning Drops. So as I mentioned, I have a couple foundations that are a little bit too dark for me, so I do add these lightning drops to it. It does not alter the consistency of the foundation, so it is a great product to have, and I really do like them. I'm considering getting the darkening drops as well, just for the foundations that I have and I love, but when I'm self-tanned I can't use. The few products that you see behind here are just little foundation samples, things that I've been trying out, figure out if I love them, if I want to purchase the full size, so I'm not going to talk about them yet. If I do end up purchasing them, you will definitely see it on my Insta stories. So you guys, that's it. That's all I'm keeping. I'll put it all back in so you can kind of see what I'm keeping versus what I'm giving away. So I'll show you guys which foundations I'm actually getting rid of. I have the Makeup Forever foundations that I chatted about that I'm going to pass on. I have the Estee Lauder foundation that I'm going to pass on. I have this Maybelline Matte and Poreless foundation. I feel like I'm passing on a lot of matte foundations because I no longer like matte. I have 5 concealers I'm passing on. Makeup Forever, some Benefit in here, some Marcelle, some Lise Waiter, some Joe Fresh. So some Canadian concealers in here. Obviously, I like my expensive brand name concealers because I'm giving away quite a few that I'm just not loving. So I'll pass on those products, and then the couple that I'm actually going to toss out are the Maybelline concealers and the L'Oreal foundation. I felt like I did okay. I didn't have too many that were expired, which surprised me. I thought I would be tossing out quite a few more, but I'm happy that I'm giving away more than I'm tossing out. I always like using up the product before I have to toss it, but I know that's not always realistic. So thank you so much for joining me for my foundation and concealer collection. Let me know if you enjoyed this video so I know if I should continue doing my collection and declutters, because it's always fun for me to go through my product, refresh my memory of what I have, but it's always a little nice to be a little fly on the wall and see what I have in my collection. So thanks so much for joining me today, guys. See you soon.